colleagues, time for rock and roll. Can you hear me? I'm asking people in the back row, so please take your seats because we need a good picture for broadcasting. I will start by saying that you made it to the right place at the right time. Usually, such events, well, yes, they're quite extraordinary, in fact, and they can really impact your lives. I'm sure that people sitting today, for a big number of you, this day will become the key day in your life. So something will definitely change in your life. To some people, things that we'll be sharing today will sound like a fairy tale. But actually, as for the previous projects, we heard and saw pretty much the same reaction. But now we have arguments, we have facts, we have results, and that is why we just started to think about a new project. As you know, over the past 7 years, well, actually, we started our activities back in 2014, and it means 10 years past. We were always searching for new projects. What is our main purpose and goals? What kind of project we are searching for? At some point, I realized that starting from the Soviet times, well, actually established a very good engineering school, and so this engineering school was left somewhere behind. So it means that we have a lot of talented people, and they really invented, and they are inventing a lot of things, but they didn't manage to commercialize that, monetize that, and for some reason, the whole world is not using it. Usually, the creation and commercialization of such projects requires management, finances, distribution, etc. And here we talk about big sums of money. So designer, developer themselves, usually they cannot build a factory before our projects. Neither me or our people I know could actually touch upon all this and create, establish a big business. At the same time, we really dreaming about a big life, luxurious life, be part of technological enterprise like Gazprom. Our idea was as follows. We tried to search people on YouTube and social media and different TV programs. We will be watching and their projects, their goals, and if possible, create partnership with them. Businesses that could become really big. Of course, they are a bit risky now, and some people say that we're just building, these cathedrals in the air. But as classics say, we are born to die, and there are risks involved. But there is life between the moments you are born and you die. We managed to create something that hardly anybody believed in. As a result, we are in a really strong position right now, and this process of searching for new projects, and Fyodor was responsible for that. So we had hundreds of different projects and different stages of readiness. Roughly speaking, we fell in love with one project, so now we are gonna marry this project, as we say it here in Russia. So I would like to tell you that we chose this project intentionally. I mean, with airships, and for 3 years we had to postpone it because we had that current project up to the point when we realized that Sovelmash would be financed completely because we don't want to put it at risk. We guided by well, reasonable intentions, and we realized that we had to wait a little bit. So the project of Duyunov is very close to the final stage, to the end of finances, and there are no risks involved. We keep on working on these projects, and all the plans like corporatization, etc. Everything has been accomplished. But our society is growing, and we took the decision that apart from waiting so much, we will also launch another project that is incredibly beautiful. It's a project that is mesmerizing, and everybody is really thrilled to hear and to see what's next, what's gonna happen in the near future. Well, I was a little bit probably scared at the very beginning, but then I thought to myself, oh, come on, let's give it a start. Come on, we've done so much. It's time to give it a new start. Well, you'd better try, even if well, we fail. I'm quite sure 90% that we will succeed, but still, we should definitely give it a try. Why are we here today? I don't know why it happens on the 25th. Well, I decided the time was ripe to do that. I created a chat on Telegram, and I had a plan to prepare a presentation, online presentation by this day, and to have 100 people there. So as you saw, there were over the 1,400 people there in chat. So it's like a real virus. Project is incredibly beautiful, a technological one. It generates a lot of profits. We will tell you about a picture, big picture, where we are going to, how much money is needed for that. We will tell you uh, uh, more about the elements of this project. It will be a little bit different from the previous projects. So we're going to have a group of people responsible for the project. Today we will introduce the main elements to you. I mean, integral parts of this project. Today we will also present fundamental people and pillars of this project to you, and of course we will very much rely on those parts, people, pillars, where we'll give the floor to the members of our team, those who will be responsible for design and engineering, development works, and other blocks of works. So I guess that we had some slides prepared. I'm trying to switch between slides. The slider is not working. I would like to start, not, well, I would rather give the floor to Fyodor Konstantinov, a participant of our team, and we have known this person for 10 years, and he has been working with us starting from 2018, so he knows a lot about technologies. He was also responsible for selecting projects, and he involved our team into this issue of airships and this domain. So please present the project. So Fyodor will be the head of the project, airships of new generation. Good afternoon, dear friends. I will tell you a few words about myself and why Sergey actually allowed me to take part in this. I am engineer and specialist in technologies. I worked at a factory named after Khrushchev, who actually manufactures rocket carriers. And first, I was just an assistant to a foreman. And I remember when I became a master and I worked at a lathing machine. I also had a chance to work with the whole factory and different branch representative offices for several thousands of people. And I was exposed to a number of tests, communicated with a lot of people. So I made it almost to the top of the factory. Then I was taken to the head office, to the headquarters. I found out a lot about all the procedures and processes involved. I also met Sergey back then. That's a different story. And when I left this domain, I was offered a position of technologies for rocket carrier Sankara. I was responsible for setting up production and all those branch offices, and that information that we dealt with there was strictly confidential. And I remember back then at that point, Sergey approached me and said, "Come on, come with us. We're gonna build our own rockets." And here we go. Yeah. Speaking about airships, me personally, I used to have such an idea. I really wanted to fly, and people who know me, my beloved ones, my relatives, knew that. Well, I didn't want to get a driving license simply because I wanted to be a pilot. I mean, over helicopter, on aircraft, I was crazy, obsessed about all those. Aircrafts, airships, about aerial navigation, and well, I think that the only option for me was to work with something that could be kind of suspended in the air without even you when you have to hold it somehow, etc. So I came up with that idea, and I remember that Sergey were receiving a lot of projects, and I remember he was sending me resending all those projects. And I remember when I first thought about this project, I remember I received a phone call where people talked about one academician, Mr. Kirilin, and so I fixed a meeting with him. And I remember when I came to him, he said, "Do you know anything about airships?" So Kirin Alexander Nikolaevich, General Director, or he's a constructor of a joint stock company Aerostatics, Doctor of Technical Sciences, academician of the Russian Academy of Natural Science, of Academy of Aviation and Air Navigation. So he was a chief instructor at one of the Aviation Institute for 15 years. Also was one of the representative of the Moscow Aviation Institute, and was also in charge of the Academy of Air Navigation. Well, a lot of things. Alexander Nikolaevich knows a lot of people. The whole world knows him. He has, well, actually, he has piloted many times airships, and also he did it in Moscow and very close to Moscow. We talked a lot about that. He knows all the ins and outs about that. I would like to give him the floor. In my turn, I would like to say at the initial stage and at the stage of decision making whether or not we actually should step into. We went to Germany in order to fly an airship. They existed, they exist now, and they will continue to exist. So nothing actually changed about them. So why are we talking right now about airships of new generation? What Russia can offer to the global market? Something special. What can be offered by your team? Something that cannot be offered by, for example, Germans, etc. So first of all, is everything okay with my microphone? I'm really happy that we finally met each other today, and we're about to launch the project. I would say that we have been waiting for almost 3 years, and I think that we were supposed to start 2 years and a half, but well, there was quite an issue with a special military operation. Even though that we conducted a very good conference very close to this place, we also took a ride in. Motorboats, but we had to postpone this project a little bit. I guess that right now it's the best moment to start all that. Why did we select airships? Well, we would like to offer a project that has no equivalents in the world. We would like to become leaders in this domain, and there are a lot of things to prove it. I would like to say that actually there are four ways ballistics, dynamic and aerodynamics and aerostatics flying modes. And I would like to say that aerostatic is the most economical one. We would like to have a very good lifting capacity, and we don't have to pay that. Archimedes law is like an anti-gravitator, and this is a very precious trait, a thing that for some reason has not been that much used by human beings. And actually, yes, for the air navigation first, for that we used actually aerostats and then airships, and only after that airplanes. The use itself of Archimedes' law actually well makes us think about very good features or properties in terms of economy, in terms of athletics, in terms of aeronautics, etc. And as for energy consumption, it's way lower than, for example, airplanes or helicopters. And apart from that, it has a very good surface. I mean, the big one. Probably it's not that good in terms of some flying capacity. I mean, but at the same time, I should say that with time we're gonna have very good solar batteries for 3, 5 Microna with a good efficiency coefficient, and there we're going to use the solar panels. I don't think that we can use sun just to have a cruise speed of 150 or 200 kilometers, but 100, yes, sure. But add hydrogen on top of that, in gas form or in a liquefied form, you can talk about very good performance, and there is enough space for that airships. By doing that, we could switch to purely clean energy sources. I mean, sun and hydrogen. This is one side of the matter. Another thing is safety, use of aerostatic lifting power. Actually, and it's actually higher than the center of mass, and this apparatus becomes really stable in terms of aerostatics at a particular speed, and we have a very good effect. We cannot just collapse when we had like a breakdown of all the agents, so there are no risks, particular risks involved for airships. Some people are a little bit afraid to fly. For example, you have aerophobia, but as for airships, you can do this, but at the same time in a very comfortable atmosphere. So, we will be talking about that. For example, if we talk about double-deck airships, where the second deck will be for single and double cabins, with a movie theater, with a dance floor, etc. So it's not just a flight; it's a real adventure. It's quite a low height, but at the same time, you can walk on observation deck. Yes, where we stay closer to the land. It's not like a flight; it's a real adventure, a captivating adventure. And there we can really change paradigm in transport logistics. If we talk about transport machines, I mean, all those laws that are linked to Archimedes' law are quite different from those used in airplanes. For example, cube versus square. In cube we can see a growth of the mass, and human beings hardly create airplanes or helicopters with a good capacity. As for airships, we don't have any such problems. Here we have a cube or cube quadrupled. I've studied that a lot in my work, and also reflected that in my monography about airships, where actually a special program complex was developed, and feasibility study was well described. I mean, information about airships of a new generation presented based on synthesis and different aeronautical parameters, etc. There are a lot of opportunities. I looked at airships with up to 3,000 tons of capacity. Shall we start building such machines now? Maybe not now, but as for hundreds tons, I think that this is something that could really interest the Rosatom, that could be used for power station. Or for example, there is a request from Roscosmos to transport a rocket from Moscow suburban and up to, I don't know, different other locations somewhere, and also it can be used for rescue operation. I think that it can be done not through the Охotska Sea and the ocean, but through the northern pole and ocean. Well, I think it could be definitely used for search and rescue works. For that matter, usually icebreakers are used, but sometimes you can have only 6 hours to save the team. Can I jump in for a second? I just wanted to say that all the previous projects, when we were searching for the new projects, first we thought that it would be something similar to what we had, but then we realized that we have not just one engineer, but we had a lot of scientific and research institutes, and so on and so forth. And when Alexander Nikolaevich says something about Rosatom, etc., it's not like a fantasy. I would say that, today you are going to listen to real academicians, representative of institutes. You will see a lot of incredible people. I would say that that was a real campaign. So the best of the best will be here to talk about all the projects, just to create this airship. Something that is being said right now is just a small part of all those things we are about to make come true. Can I continue? Sure. Very often I hear the following question: what about Zeppelin? I mean, well, it's well-known thing, and they used to fly, and also Mr. Zeppelin did it for a good many years. Probably you've been to Safra, and there you can see real size section of Gandenburg, all those walking decks. You can see this opening windows, and you know how it was taken into the air. It was done in silence. Engines were turned off, there was this German upholstery, and then you could see those ladies in long dresses, and only then later on they turned on the agents to move forward. And I remember when I talked to one of the pilots, American pilot, quite an aged one, at one conference, I said, so what about Yandenburg? And he was a part of the team. He said, I was responsible for navigation, for the wheels. We had the whole team, and so we were supposed to stick to our course, just to move in a stable way, so that everyone could actually enjoy the flights. Those were real people who were responsible for the safety of the flights. I think that we should go back to that. And probably we should use all the opportunities that we have right now. What are the main opportunities that we have right now, and so what should be implemented in practice? I actually reflected that in the article. It was issued not long ago. It was done by our the Academy of Aviation and Air Navigation. Of course, we need to change the basic elements. Well, I should say that we are actually talking about 15 patents and good know-how. I think that we should store and keep secret our commercial secrets. So 15 patients, revolutionary ones, absolutely new. They linked to the structure, to the framework of the airship, to assembly work, and I would say that it was not done that successfully at Zeppelin, and one of the weak points is the near ground maintenance of airships. But at the same time, our airships should withstand even very strong winds. and well, we should also think about parking and the way it should keep in around ground position in case of a bad weather conditions. And as for anchoring, it should be done very easily by just by one person. And as for anchoring, it can be done with a small area, or for example, somewhere on the roof of a high-rise building, for example, five-star hotel, the city center. We can land here. Passengers can leave, then we can leave, then go back, etc. So that's the type of passenger uh, uh, airships we talk about. We're not talking about intercontinental flights. Probably it could be done for 200 to 400 kilometers, even though in one of the works, which is called the Blue Dream, probably thanks to the projects I'll keep working on that. So I am thinking about even a seven-deck, five-star flying hotel for making a flight around the planet. That is a 200 ton airship that can be used for transportation. So it can also transport cargo and as for the assembly framework and near ground maintenance speed, something that we should bear in mind. So as for Zeppelin, maximum speed was 130. In our case, we should make it to 170 kilometers. Yes, so 170 kilometers, maybe up to 200 kilometers per hour. If we talk about 500-ton airship, we can make a speed up to 250 kilometers. As for the comfort for passengers, for tourists, this is something that will be really incredible, not compared to aviation. I'm not gonna talk that much about the energy consumption, so in perspective, we can switch to hydrogen, to solar power or energy. Can I comment on something? Just want to make it clear for people about Edinburgh, and you mentioned a lot of other things about anchoring, etc. As for Brandenburg, 100 years ago, there they flew from Europe through the ocean, over the ocean to North America. There they had cabins, restaurants, and it was 100 years ago. Can you imagine today's car and, for example, a car 100 years ago, or trains, etc.? So can you see, I mean, how things evolved in time? Well, it is possible to create something incredible. It was also possible 100 years ago. Can you imagine, can we create today? Just a short comment. Okay, spheres of applications. They can be used for various purposes. They can be used for different things, actually, can be used in different areas. I prepared a special offer for our government. Some of the interesting thing, I mean, I can speak for Russia. In Russia, and actually one project, 10-ton airships will probably be meant for that. So maybe 15-ton airships. This is exploration of Russian forest with the help of airship. Our forests cost a lot, and they are more expensive than all the gas fields and oil fields, but we cannot just take it or use it. And they have been explored by only 30%. If we talk about another 50%, and if forests are explored by airships, and to do that, like 5,000 airships should be built using different technologies, so that we can take different trips, trees where trees can be taken and delivered to some processing platforms. We need to build some eco towns somewhere in the Far East for that matter. Also, at the same time, we can focus on pharmaceutical domain. Well, according to some estimation, it's going to be 300, 400 billions per year. We can make it to the threshold. It's much more than we can get from oil and gas put together. But at the same time, forests are environmentally pure thing, and also even more important, unlike oil and gas, this is a renewable source of energy. And at the same time, we cannot even reach out to that. Brazilians also have forests, but they have a different structure. In our case, it is more attractive. We have different wood processing plants. Another task that we had work on the stratosphere airship. Stratosphere has not been conquered completely right now. Of course, we have launch fighters there that can fly at quite a big height, but actually it could be completely explored using airship to transmit different information flows. Of course, it's not a simple airship, approximately 170 meters long, operating at a height of 15 to 20 kilometers with a radius of 400 kilometers. So I think that approximately 100 airships needed for that to communicate between themselves. I mean, within a visibility range, and television, internet. What else? Mobile communication, environmental monitoring, the frontiers, so borders control, etc. They can be used for all that, and at the same time, they can be operated at different heights. And compared to satellites, they also have very good resolutions, maybe 1,000 times better, and also they can change their payload capacity. I think that this is a luxurious, incredibly beautiful task, and we could really take it. By the way, we were also meant to also work on such a stratospheric machine, and we discussed that. So this is an island country, and of course they're very much focused on the protection of their borders and their fishery also. There they probably would need approximately 30 airships of this kind in order to cover the whole territory. Can I comment on this sphere issue? Yes. Well, I worked a lot with all those space things, and I remember how we worked with different satellites, and I remember that we had a lot of problems with that. They collapsed, they fell down, etc. So it takes a lot of efforts to put them into the orbit and then make it rotate around, etc. And well, that was incredible. And many times you had to start everything all over again. And when Alexander Nikolaevich said that stratosphere has not been completely conquered, that also gives me a wow effect. Well, here, we can use actually satellites designed specifically for that matter. Well, it's less expensive than rockets. It can go up to the stratosphere and actually accomplish the same tasks. And you can make it land back. Well, then you can refuel it, and that's incredible. You can really do better than Elon Musk with that kind of approach. As for Africa, everything is quite relevant, not only stratosphere, but also we could talk about tourism there, about passenger cargo transportation. Market will be developing, billion of people, population, and well, no winter there. Well, here in Russia we have winter. There's nothing bad about that when it comes to forward exploration. But as for passenger transportation, probably in in winter it's not the best solution, but in Africa that would be fine. But transport, cargo transportation, passenger transportation, these are very good things. I graduated from department of helicopters at Moscow Aviation Institute. Maybe you know Bermatuhin, he was the dean at that department, and they tried to promote helicopters. And I remember how he shared his reaction. He said that we were very much criticized, and people even told us, "Go f yourself," or they didn't want to deal with us. But at the end of the day, yes, well, we can see that there are so many tasks dealt with by helicopters. Helicopters can take off and land vertically, and airships can do the same thing. They can do it vertically, but as for the production or construction costs, they are less expensive compared to helicopters. So this is a more economical solution, not to mention secure safety. Yes, I would like to add something. The bigger the airship we have, the more economical it is. So this is reverse proportional. If we talk about 10-ton or 15-ton airship for forest exploration, well, actually, we could talk about different parameters. It could be also, well, we understand that in oil, gas, and fields, they use helicopters a lot. But this is a more ergonomical version, a more economical one, if we talk about 10, 15-ton airship. So it's going to be like 10 times more economical. This is the main question. Just to answer it, what do we need it for, etc. If you think about that, there is such a good helicopter, Me 28. Well, so in total we have 13,000, no, 17,000 of them, or even more than that. Okay, 17,000. And all those helicopters, Me-8, they perform different tasks, and they did it, and they were really efficient, but we can be 10 times more efficient than those helicopters. So it's going to be a really good business with a good margin. And now I would like to proceed to the last block of questions, and I will give the floor to some other colleagues, and they will be a little bit more specific. We'll talk about the projects that we would like to offer for our partnership. We would like to find a common language, and we would like to apply for the development of 6 types of airships. At the same time, we will be constructing airships initially. First, we will establish the scientific production base for AURUS. This is aeronautical or aerial yacht, and the main people we will be communicating will be Moscow Aviation Institute. This is my alma mater, and we will be communicating with the chief engineer and designer of these relevant departments. He also worked a lot with airships. We will stay focused on Dutch issues certification. Also, Mr. Grumondz, a specialist in the sphere of aerodynamics, he will also be involved in our work. Moscow Aviation Institute and the second serious organization we'll be working with is NAMI. This is our National Institute of car building and vehicle building, and they actually developed and designed this automobile called AURUS for the president. We will be using their production base, their engines. They are ready to share AURUS, which means the gold of Russia. Allow us to use this name. Well, that's a bit of a a secret, but still. But this is a part of our plan. This is AURUS. We will be using this name, and of course, we will be using a special 600 horsepower engine used in Limos. They developed an incredible engine using some very good technologies, Italian origin. They are very good at fuel consumption, etc. So they actually use quite a big diameter there, and it makes an integral part of our portfolio, and we're going to have a special transmission. I think that this AURUS model can be applied in our 10-ton airship with cabins. I think it could be used there. Well, apart from that, we have some other people who will be cooperating with us, some aviation aeronautics companies, organizations, Gosvisnyas. These are some of state organizations. We could also use some electric engines with vents, with auxiliary engines. So we have provided for quite a large-scale cooperation of aerospace players or enterprises. We will be working in close cooperation. We will also make this roof of the airship multifunctional, and I should say that again it will be used for transportation both of cargo and transportation that can be used in the city center. Just a short comment about cooperation. Unlike previous projects where we had an idea, some work, some base. So, but we had to create infrastructure on our own and also give a start to our ideas, launch them, put into operation. Right now, we have different players, key players of the industry responsible for different parts of work. And after the presentation of the idea, we are going to proceed straight away to real work, to development, design work. So you don't have to wait another 5 years for the construction of a factory. And yes, works can be started right away. So 10-ton airship, something that we very much rely on. This is a multifunctional project or airship, and also cargo passenger airship. Up to 70 passengers can be transported and shipped, but it's not like in a helicopter. I mean, in case you've tried that, but it's going to be done in a comfortable way. Also, first class, business class. We're not going to have economy class at the same time. We're going to have observation decks and all those pieces of infrastructure. And the second option, something that will be used for cargo transportation only. I mean, 10, 15-ton airship. There will be several thousands of such airship manufactured, and they will be popular for sure. We have actually studied carefully all those ideas. Then we're also going to have 20, 40-ton airships with several decks, with cabins, with observation deck, with recreational walking deck. This is a double deck airship with a movie theater, so it means on board you can go there. Also, there will be a dance floor, a piano hall, etc. As for the cargo airship, here we talk about 30, 40 ton airship. Well, up to 40 ton. That's a serious offer. Yes, helicopters, they are in great demand. So the most widespread helicopter, Mi-8, 70,000 of them have been manufactured. Up to 300 of them can be manufactured per year. But we plan that our 10-ton airship will be 2.56 times more capable, but at the same time it will be more ergonomical depending on the task. Can you imagine the difference? And well, actually, they can be manufactured in big numbers. So we mentioned different options: 10, 20, 40 ton airships, and also then we should talk about stratospheric airships. I think that's well. Well, it's like 15, 20 kilometers above the ground, so that's the heights where they will be used. No, it makes no sense to go higher than that. So these are the main groups of airships we're thinking about, and we also plan to build 4 big islands on top of this, and probably after that we'll be talking about serial production of 100 airships at least per year. As for more details, numbers, etc., we'll go back to it later on. Let's continue to meet a representative of the team. I would like to give the floor to Vadim Zubkevich. He will be deputy head of the main constructor. My deputy as well for the most commercial airship, 10, 15-ton airship. In case if you are familiar with Avgur story, you know what it will be all about. He worked with a lot of different airships. Our main constructor in Russia, who has worked a lot with this type of airships, please meet this person. Yes, just a few words about the project. My name is Zubkevich Vadim. I'm a deputy head constructor of this enterprise and will be a project manager of one of the most prospective airships that will be manufactured. This is hair of Zeppelin. It will be very much similar to Zeppelin, but will be based on new principle and technologies. It will be a classical cigarette formed airship, quite a long one. The volume of the corp will be approximately 600 cubic meters, and the length of the corp will be 170 meters. Quite a classical Zeppelin, but it will be based on new technologies, new materials, new design methods. That is why we are quite sure that this airship will be light and it will be used for different maneuvers. It will be faster. We think that, yes, we were talking about 400 horsepower capacity. It will be flying with a speed of 650 horsepower, and the maximum speed will be 175 kilometers, and the cruise speed will be from 125 to 150 kilometers. It's going to be higher than the height of Zeppelin, but at the same time, duration of the flight will be pretty much the same. Another particular trait of it will be its opportunity to take off and land vertically, which was not the case with Zeppelin because of the screws and traction of the engines. Well, that will be possible in order to take off and land. You don't have such big runways that you need for airplanes. You don't need big fields for that. This airship can overcome quite big distances, but lands within quite small area. So the length, I actually said it's gonna be approximately 140 meters. So you can take off and land very easily. And thanks to the fact that we're gonna mechanism of the main on-ground operations, we will not need on-ground team for operating such an airship. It can actually land at almost non-prepared area, grounds. So this airship can land. The only thing you need for that is to have anchoring points that will be needed for unloading operations. It will be used for all that. And well, again, it can be operated in different climate conditions, even in bad weather conditions. So we should protect it against strong winds. Well, it can be done very easily. And the most important thing is that this airship, thanks to new materials and modern framework and the structure, it can be used even without ailing exploitation, unlike Zeppelin. And after every flight, they were supposed to be freed from ailing. It can be used within an open platform, and the core of the airship is quite rigid, and it can be kept within an open area for quite a long time without having to worry about its actually intactness, so it can be left without any control. So this airship will be manufactured in three main ways or options. One of the options will be the one that can be used for cargo and passengers transportation with quite open space, large space gondola that could be used within the rigid core of the airship. It will be meant only for first class and business class with wide aisles between the rows, very comfortable for passengers. The saloon itself, I mean, the interior will be equipped with proper space between seats with big windows, panoramic windows, and as for panoramic windows, from there you can see a very beautiful view, and it will be operated at quite low height, so it means that during the flight you can enjoy the beautiful view. There will be no vibration, no frictions, so enough space. It's gonna be like a cruise liner. Another option, it's mostly meant for tourists. I would say that there we're gonna have less passengers, but more comfortable conditions, up to 4 luxurious cabins, and as for the distance that can be traveled. So, for example, it can take off in Moscow, go to the North Pole, then actually allow people to take a walk on the North Pole and then go back to Moscow. And so on the way back, it can actually land in St. Petersburg and Solovki, Novaya Zemlya, Spitsbergen Cap, etc. Wow, it's going to be an expensive trip. Not everyone can afford it, but there are people who actually pay for orbital flights and for descending up to 5 kilometers down in the ocean, etc. So that people interested in that, but it's quite risky. In our case, everything is going to be really safe and sound. And another important thing, apart from the passenger transport option, is the one that will be used for cargo only. So you can take this rigid structure, and at the bottom you can attach a small gondola only meant for um, the cabin crew, and depending on the distance, so again it's going to be 15 or 10 ton airship, maybe 20 ton airship, well, we'll see. So there will be a special containers, so they will be used and suspended and attached to airship. A few words about that. It can hardly be compared to airplanes because it's a little bit slower than airplanes, and it has another meaning behind. It should be better compared to helicopters. If we compare it to Mi-8, then even though that the maximum speed is of course lower than airplane speeds, but it's quite different from the maximum speed of helicopter Mi-8. No, not that's a difference. At the same time, the distance that can be traveled is several times longer. And as for the convenience, well, this is much more comfortable and much more convenient than in helicopters. No vibration operational friction, big space, or recreational or walking decks, and so on and so forth. So this airship will be manufactured as a continuation, kind of continuation of Zeppelin. Will be a little bit similar to Zeppelin, but in terms of interiors, it's going to be really different. It will be based on new principles, modern technologies, electronics, different materials. Well, it's going to be really modern, high tech. Well, I think that will be a best ever version of Zeppelin, Zeppelin of a new generation. So, dear friends, I'm gonna explain a little bit. So it turns out that the first two projects we will focus on flying yacht branded AURUS, a small minivan for 8 people with some sanitary ware, kitchen. So fastest project. Another one is a 10-ton airship. That's a serious project, a working machine. It can tug quite big and to transport big cargo. There you need no seats. So there will be just a small team of people operating it. You need to attach some cargo there, fly to the North Pole, for example, just to replace some equipment. There will be cargo, a passenger airship, passenger tourist airships. So yachts are 10-ton in four options, the one that we have just talked about. So next person, Khmel Dmitriy Sergeyevich, a very good person, a person from the space. A lot of people ask questions about all those constituent parts of airships, for example, if it's bumps into a bird, what happens? It can just collapse. No, actually, he operated this kind of machines, apparatus in different conditions, also in acidic one. Dmitry Sergeyevich, a deputy head constructor of the company Aerostatika for design of a transport airship, cabin double-deck airship, and also a person responsible for the Venera project. Well, you could actually see the one that he was responsible for the screen, double-deck cabin airship. Let's meet him. I'm really happy to take the floor here as Fyodor put it, I am deputy chief designer of Aerostatika, and I'm responsible for the project of aerial yachts AURUS, and I'm also responsible for projects of a passenger double-deck cabin airship and a cargo airship with carrying capacity up to 40 tons. A few words about aerial yachts AURUS. This main idea behind that is to take this project and test all the new technologies that will allow airships to live a new life and land the right way to be operated in the most efficient way. Also we can try new propulsion systems and other things, and that well, we understand that we already have airships, and I've been dealing with airships for 20 years with airships in this type. I have been in air navigation for quite a long time together with my renowned colleagues. And I can tell you from a practical experience that this real machines, and they can be operated and used in a very efficient way. Of course, there are some rules involved, but still, as for aero yacht, it is meant for 6 people, I mean, cabin crew, and it can move at a speed of up to 130 kilometers per hour. It is absolutely dependent from meteo conditions, and apart from that, this yachts, aerial yachts, it's should impersonate different design solutions that we can see, helicopters and airplanes, and maximum level of convenience. Apart from that, we should say that it has certain technologies regarding anchoring, and well, they will be improved. I mean, all those parameters. Well, and also pilots can be trained there in order to later on switch to bigger machines. So there will be a special gondola attached to that for passengers. But I would like to highlight there will be, yes, like I say, like gondola on a cell. It will be designed together with NAMI, Institute of Air Navigation, and well, they have a huge technological design potential, and everything will be implemented there. It will be an integral part of the airship, and unlike helicopters, it will allow to travel a distance up to 1,000 kilometers. It will be much safer. It will produce less noise, and it can take off vertically. At the same time, it will cost less. Of course, it will definitely be in demand. It can be used on an individual basis. The other base can be used for also advertising. Any airship, it's like a bright picture that always leaves very good impressions. On this slide, you can see spheres of application of it, and one of the main one, something that we worked with when we worked with airships, it was monitoring different land services. And right now also we can talk about control over airspace, and also fight against drones, etc. So it can be used for different purposes. It can be also used for other things. It will have sensors and can save different issues linked related to air control, border control, etc. It can be used at connect areas, and can be operated with very good coverage. So it can be used also in order to attract young people to work in this sphere, I mean, the sphere of aeronautics. And so now I would like to say a few words about passenger double-deck cargo and passenger airship that should impersonate all the best properties of airships, considering that their efficiency grows together with their size. It should have a very safe, solid, rigid framework that would allow to put all the elements in the right position. I mean, the engines, other constituent parts, and it will be able to transport this 40,000 tons of cargo in a very easy way. And to do that, some powerful agents will be used in order to lift this cargo in the air during the flight. It will be used for advancing ahead and it can be used for different maneuvers. And of course, the speed will be a little bit higher than the one that we will have for 10 ton airships. It will be approximately 170, 180 kilometers per hour or 200 kilometers maximum. So this transport-related task, that's very important, and it can be only be compared to Mi-26 in terms of these properties, and in terms of payload capacity, it's even better. And the distance traveled is approximately 30-40 kilometers more, but actually it can travel to any location on the planet. So these airships could become kind of an air platform for tourism, some kind of house in the air that can be used for people to move from A to B with a very good speed in the right direction without deviating from the trajectory. At the same time, it will allow people to enjoy the view and everything happening around, everything that people can see around. Special things will be designed there. The aircraft will have its own infrastructure. There will be an nacelle, VIP cabins, restaurants, observation decks. I mean, open space. They are also provided for, and lower deck. That is not meant for living, but it will be meant for some operational tasks and also for movie theater. So the issue of maintenance, operating, anchoring, etc., they've been worked on. It can also be used in case of ditching. It will be available and possible in many cases. I guess that I covered all the points that I wanted. I hope that it wasn't that long. Thank you. Colleagues, very often we can hear such parameters 120, 170 kilometers, and sometimes you might say my car drives faster, but in the city, its average speed is usually 30 kilometers, and train 40-50 because it stops from time to time. I mean, train, etc. But here we talk about a B line, a direct line, and the speed will be really nice. So you can move right from the city center and to go directly to point B with at such a speed. But you have to understand that if you compare it to your car, for example, if you want to fly somewhere, you need to go to the parking lot, grab your car, go to the airport, for example, wait for a long time, then fly somewhere, etc. So here it's much faster. As for the pictures that have been shared, I mean the interiors, external interiors, these are some of the sketches, engineering sketches, and of course everything will be planned and developed with the best engineers. Right now you go to the best restaurants in Moscow and you can see how comfortable it is there. You can take a look at the entrance group, about how you're accompanied by people there, etc. You can see incredible space. You feel comfortable in. The same thing will be done there. That was if we talk briefly about all those things. So in the future it will be worked on. So Kuznetsov Andrey Gennadievich, Deputy General Director, General Designer of Aerostatika, and the Chief Designer for Stratosphere, youngest out of those presented today to you. In all the projects presented by Alexander Nikolaevich, I mean Airship project, I actually participated in all of them from the economic point of view. I was responsible for the economic part. First and foremost, I'm talking about business planning, and also I was responsible for technical part. As for the technical part, I'm talking about air and gas systems, about power, propulsion systems, and also general assembly works, airships of rigid types, and on-ground maintenance and exploitation. First of all, of course, automated system anchoring devices themselves. Apart from that, I will also be responsible for project of a stratospheric airship. Well, actually, Alexander Nikolaevich has talked a lot about that already. But speaking about the use of it, I would like to repeat that inevitably it will be used for the monitoring of the on-ground surface, air and water space, border protection and control. Another important thing is handover and the distribution of information flows. And of course, I'm talking about television, telecommunication, internet. As for stratospheric airship, they will be capable of covering the on-ground service. This information in bytes, 1 square meter, 1,000 times better than satellites. At the same time, they will be several times less expensive than existing space technologies that you can already see nowadays. For example, approximately 100 airships placed with a quasi-stationary orbit in direct visibility from each other, they will be able to cover with information flow territory of Russia. As it has already been said, unlike satellites, airships should land on the ground to be maintained. It should also do it for repairing works, and also they should be able in order to replace useful payloads. At the same time, satellites, if something happens to them, then they will just stay there, and it's like space garbage. It has a detrimental impact on our environment. Apart from that, airships can also fly at different heights, which can provide for good resolution in case of a survey. The main task of a stratospheric airship or a machine is to go up to the height of 12-15 kilometers, reach a particular destination point and stay there for a number of months, up to 1 year. That's what we plan for the future. It can be done in automated drone mode. The specified or above mentioned height is preferable because this is higher than the transport routes of civil aviation, but at the same time, it allows to cover the territory with a radius of 400 kilometers. In order to ensure such functionality, we will need to build bridget airships, approximately 100 cubic meters. The length will be 175 meters. As for the carrying gas, it will be helium. In perspective, we will be using hydrogen, so it will allow us to cut down on maintenance costs. As for the propulsion system, the plan is to install two types of propulsion systems. Number one is a hybrid propulsion systems with electric engine, and it will be fed with the help of few elements. As for the fuel, it will be hydrogen that will be compressed, and under pressure in balloons, it will be kept on board. There will be an additional option provided, which will be a solar panel on the corp of the airship, which will allow for a longer stay of the airship in the stratosphere. Speaking about the functionality of the propulsion system, well, we should mention this will be also about position of the airship during anchoring, and also the working height during the performance of different duties. Another propulsion system, this is engine of internal combustion. Their function will be to take the airship to a particular destination point. These propulsion systems will be responsible for a special traction to the help of a special screws. Well, in general, this type of airships will be of great interest for different countries. I mean, many countries, in fact, in the world. Can I mention some timelines, deadlines? Yes, because you will be responsible for them. Okay, as for timeline, this project will be launched a little bit later. So it will be launched, I think, at the beginning of 25. Because first we need to check out some technical economic parameters of the project of airships themselves. We will plan to finish the project in mid-2025. I mean, this stage, then designing will last till the end of 2027. First flight will be accomplished in mid-2029. And as for fully certified airships, they will appear in 2031. So in 5 years, we will be able to create our own stratospheric satellites. Thank you. Okay, I will say a few words about this technology of this stratospheric satellites or ships. Analysts say that they will be more efficient from the economic point of view. Stratosphere has not been conquered by anyone, and of course, no one has monopolized it. So some companies try to allocate funds for that, as well as some public establishments. We have all it takes, and we have all the chances to be in front of everyone, to be the leader, because we have mathematicians, we have brilliant engineers, designers, etc. So we will succeed. As for the timeline, where we said that, well, the first airship will be taken into in the air. It will be in 5 years. I remember I worked for the international space stations, and wow, I remember that some parts were assembled on the planet, on the surface, for 25 years. Was something that was already there in the space, but here it's gonna take less time, 5 years. Let's give a round of applause, because it's a super cool thing. And let's meet some other people. While I was sitting on the chair, I started to think about the following thing. It was if I was in the government and I listened to a presentation, what we need airships for, I would probably say we don't need it at all. Because it's very difficult to understand the academicians, the way they speak when you sit just with other people in the whole. Because you mentioned some cubic meters, some technical parameters, it must be really hard. So that is why we are here. We will translate on that in very simple, ordinary language. We'll explain it to you in details. We'll prepare a lot of videos. We will explain you what's every single screw and every single part is for everything, every bolt, etc. So let's continue our conversation. Doctor of Physical and Mathematical Science, head of the Academy of Aviation and Air Navigation, Grumondz Valeriy Tikhovich. Just one remark about what Fyodor said. Actually, a special decree of the government was put into effect in December last year. Development and exploration of hardly accessible lands in Russia for the Arctic region and Yakutia. Just a small remark, but that is about cargo airships. Of course, we have some treasures there and they need to be transported, but everything is really bad with the roads there and will never be nice. My colleague told us a lot about how airships can be used in different situations. You can even land on this building if needed. So it's really nice. But there is one detail we need to teach airships to fly, and actually it's the department that I'm responsible for, which is doing that. I mean, in this project, the departments of aerostatics, of flight dynamics, etc. So I will be responsible for all those things. Airships are quite a trippy. It seems like it's a simple thing, but it's fact it's not the case. Seems like airplanes are really complicated, and airships they are really simple in terms of their structure, etc. No, aerodynamics of the flight is a very tricky thing, and it's very difficult to pilot it, and you really need to be professional to do that. It needs to be studied really well. As for aerodynamics, it is studied with the help of experimental aerodynamics and aerodynamic pipes. Now we also have some other methods of calculations where we use different formulas, equations for situations of turbulations, etc. All these things are interrelated, but airships, they also have a lot of tasks. They should be able to take off, not like airplanes. It has nothing to do with airplanes. They should be able to do it vertically. It's a different type of aerodynamics, and aerodynamic power is affected by that. Airships are affected by, well, it's a different thing, and it requires a lot of estimations and calculations, a lot of experiments to come up with precise information. Also, parking, landing, positioning over a small surface. It's a system with special parameters. This is a solid body. Okay, let's consider that it's solid body, and also cargo that will be suspended. It's also a solid body, and also it has ropes. All those bodies, they are interlinked, and the way it will be positioned over a small territory, over some surface, well, it's a very serious task, and it's quite a difficult thing, especially if airships, actually is in a gust of wind. For example, Zeppelin, was a little bit different. As for the after well, it might be, affected by the winds, and as for the four, it might be not. So aerodynamics is a little bit different, special. We shouldn't forget about resistant properties and many other aspects. It should withstand different climatic conditions, meteor conditions. In this project, we have a lot of interesting and complicated tasks at the same time. It's really nice to have them, despite the fact that airships have already been used in the past. Still, there are still some outstanding tasks, complexities, and they should really be actually worked on. Uh, um, we shouldn't just scale up some solutions that already exist. No, we should find a new approach to all those things. So right now, in front of me, Alexander Nikolaevich presented his book. I also would like to present my two monographs. Some of the issues have been tackled there, from positioning to loading and unloading operations. If you unload it very quickly, then because of the Archimedes force, it can go up too quickly, etc. There are a lot of delicate things. A whole series of airships have already been conceived in the framework of this project, but it means that we will be working on that, working hard, because there are no simple solutions in these situations. Of course, they can be developed, so we can come to certain conclusions, and we will definitely with. But it is possible. Everything is absolutely possible, and that's why we are working on all this. I wouldn't say that the airships or future belongs to airships completely. No, but at least a big part of the future belongs to airships. They can be responsible for quite a big part of different tasks. And the last thing to mention, I would like to say why Zeppelins were used very actively in the past. For example, from Berlin to New York, you only needed 2.5 days to move from this point to the second one. Or, for example, sometimes you had to overcome storm for Tchaikovsky when he was invited to America on his way back. There was a real storm, and even some people say he started his Sixth Symphony because of that tragedy. This tragedy situation. And as for airships, it eliminated all those problems when airships will cover the needs of the fossil or minerals transportation. That will make a difference. I think that a part of future definitely belongs to airships, and we need to come up with the right ways to use it. And I would like to wish our team that our team. I would like to wish you success in tackling those issues. That is really nice. Let's continue. Ivchenko Boris Alexandrovich, candidate of technical science, a member of the Academy of Science of Aviation and Air Navigation, chief designer of aerostatic systems, Air Navigation Center, AVGUR. Thank you very much, colleagues. I would like to correct you a little bit. Up until recently, I used to work as a chief designer at Avgur because at present this company does not exist. But there I worked almost 20 years head of the design bureau or departments, and I was a chief designer there. I am a general director of the Department of Science at my current organization, and my sphere of work is all about certification for airships that are being developed and will be created by the joint stock company. So, while working at Avgur, I was responsible for certification of airship AU-12M, double-deck cabin airship. We received the certificate of the Russian Federation, and also attachable pilot airship. It was at the Russian Exhibition Center now in Sochi. And there we also received a special certificate of the Russian Federation and European Union. I would say that these only two certificates that were recognized in the European Union. Aerolift, for example, it was also an airship. I would like to say the following thing. According to the Air Court of the Russian Federation and similar laws in other countries, all the civil pilot airships with a total mass of 150 kilograms are subject to obligatory state certification. It means that you can build, design an airship, but it will not be authorized to fly. It will just stand on the ground. And since all the projects presented here, they have a way bigger mass than 115 kilograms, they are all subject to obligatory or compulsory state registration. I would like to say that procedure of such certification, they are regulated in line with the existing civil rules. But as for obligatory part, the so-called certification basis for this airship subject to certification. What is certification basis? This is a set of rules that this aircraft should comply to in order to meet all the state requirements and to ensure the required level of safety. That's the point. Well, actually, any aircraft has its, well, you understand that as for certification basis, it is usually developed based on adopted norms of air navigation adopted by air forces and authorities. I should say that at present in different countries we have different the projects or drafts of such norms that cover a whole variety of such guided airships, starting from small ones certified to normal category. Number of seats is no more than 9 passengers, up to transport airships for 20 plus seats. So in terms of norms, rules, etc., they quite exist in the world. I mean, for airships, we know that. So in all the countries in the world, there are certain rules, and these rules or aviation rules and norms, they are harmonized with each other, so that that airships and aircrafts used in Russia with some validations, additional validations, can be also used in airspace of other countries. That is why we have an opportunity to develop our certification basis used for our aircraft. So we can use existing developed norms for example, German, American airships. They also have it. We have it in Russia for a category up to 9 seats, and based on that, we can come up with a certification basis. We can apply to the corresponding authorities of the Russian Federation, get all the necessary documents and proceed to certification. Specialists from our enterprise work in close cooperation with professors and employees of the Department of Certification of the Aviation Institute, and they have enough competences to come up with all the necessary certification procedures and confirm the requirements of this certification basis based on certain calculations and some I don't know, on-ground test experiments, flight experiments. So any flying objects is subject to such certification, and actually it should be handed over for that. And in order to get the certificates, you're supposed to have a special normative base, yes, and it exists. And if it's not in the Russian Federation, it exists in the world. And the practice is that we can work based on that. It is not like officially accepted, but this is the basis because actually there are no such flying objects. We can see that all the laws and rules in aviation are written by blood. We know why it is said. So first, a project is developed, and there, when it comes to large-scale maintenance and exploitation, then some kind of norms become a law. But they exist, these norms, except for high-rise, big heights, the drone ships. But we'll be able to use our airships that will be used with the pilots, of course. There are certain norms behind that. These norms exist, and we just need to keep on working on that. The only question that I have, you mentioned those airships that are lighter than 115 kilograms, but if they take off, how it's all measured? There are certain instructions for that. Yes, without air, without, yes. Well, it is possible to do that. I'm not gonna go into too many details, but yes, actually there is official norm. If it is more than 115 kilograms, there are some norms involved. Thank you. Apart from that, we also have a representative from Moscow Aviation Institute, Mikhail Georgievich, deputy of chief designer of the Bureau of Experimental Aircraft Construction, Moscow Aviation Institute. Over to you. Let's give a round of applause. Good afternoon. I'm going to say a few words about my Moscow Aviation Institute. This institute, amongst other types of activities, it also work with licensed activities for the design and the manufacturing of flying objects. We are licensed and authorized to develop, design, and manufacture experimental sample of flying objects I mean aircraft, etc., airships as well. I have known the team for a long time. I'm a representative of the construction bureau, design bureau of the Moscow Aviation Institute, and I should say that we worked with such airships AO-12, AO-30, and we should say that we were responsible for a big part of this project. We were responsible for the cell design, for steering, for many other things. At our institute, we have gained a lot of experience, not only of theoretical nature, but also practical experience working with the airships. We participated in such things as assembly, operation, maintenance of such airships, and also in France, especially when it was taken over by French people. Whatever. Not going to mention it. So we were also responsible for different systems from spare parts. Airships are nothing new for us. So we have people who know how to work with all those things with airships, and it will be a great pleasure for us with work with that for the Aerostatic, if not of Guru and something else. And I really hope that this alliance of people who know what needs to be done and how it should be done with the people who know how to finance it, how to organize that. It will bring about a very positive results, and we will see Russian air ships in the air. Thank you very much. And apart from that, we also have a bonus from a person, and he will join us online, Lebedev Alexander Igorevich. Will you be able to connect him, Deputy Director of the AURUS project, NAMI Institute? Good afternoon, dear colleagues. It's my pleasure to participate in this. As far as understood, the main goal of our today's meeting is part of dialogue, understand whether this project is feasible. On my side, I would like to say that those components system were mentioned. They are really feasible. Everything is possible. Our module, our platform developed and manufactured also, I mean, for AURUS specifically. Those works have been in progress starting from 2013. This project is unique, so it means we started like as greenfield. For example, as for our cars, AURUS cars, you know that they officially appeared in the market on 2018, and they were first presented during the inauguration of the president. Then in August, in the framework of our car saloon, car show, car international show, then commercial options models were presented. Nowadays, this car park includes a lot of different modifications as the serial production of Yolaba was launched in uh, 2021, and I should say that our institutes in the framework of large-scale cooperation, and this project has accumulated a lot of experience, scientific, a huge scientific potential, and it will allow to work with different systems and components needed for airships. Apart from that, I would like to say that our brand AURUS, it is well known not only in Russia but in the whole world. These cars are bought by customers from other states, and this brand has been developed as an umbrella brand. Also it includes right now business jets, aircraft with a high level of comforts. Apart from that, it also used in development of different household items. But the brand itself, ours, it also incorporates really comfortable touristic aircraft. I should say that it is quite logical. I mean, the way it develops, and let's give a round of applause. As I have already said, with the help of our partners, with the help of our cooperation, we will be able to ensure implementation of all those ideas in practice. Thank you very much, Alexander Igorovich. We are really happy that such a huge technological giant is also one of our partners. I hope that we are going to see very productive products at the end of the day. Good product. Apart from that, today we also joined by a specialist who opens real flying schools, knows everything about legislation in this sphere, is already set up and opened approximately like 5 schools. Sergey Bondar. Tell us about your plan, please, and where we will get pilots. Now I'm head of aviation study center. It has now been exposed certification. Today I was at Rosaviatia, so it's just a couple of things to do before we open this aviation training center or study training center. So this training center trains pilots, and also now these aviation training centers are used for training private pilots. As training of commercial pilots, this is not being done. We have a higher educational establishment dealing with that. There are a few of them in Russia, but I think that Rosaviats is thinking about that, and probably they will charge us to train commercial pilots as well. Preparation of airships, of pilots, of airships, and development of them is as important as the training of pilots. So we have pilots of airships, pilots for helicopters and airplanes, and the same requirements are applied for almost for all of them. But at the same time, pilots for airships will be trained a little bit differently because there are some aspects involved that are really specific, and special programs should be developed to train such pilots. They need to be approved, implemented in practice. Then pilots need to be trained, and also we need to have trainers, instructors for that. And I think, well, it's absolutely possible. It can be done very easily. I think we will do that, and we have all it takes to do that. We will be doing that in a very professional manner. Well, I should say that right now in the Russian Federation, we have all the necessary conditions for that. I think that we could be also leaders in this area. I cannot think about any other location where also they train pilots, prepare pilots for airships. Well, it is the case right now. We don't have special department for that right now, but it will be created. We have an issue with training. That means that we just need to do that, but we will definitely do that. We will develop programs, so we will create proper conditions for training, and that's it. I would like to add a few words about that. Of course, we are the only one who can train pilots for airships, specifically airships we plan to build. As for military pilots, that was much simpler than that. Me, as a instructor, I worked with a big number of colonels that later on became instructors. And so, well, they could also. We worked a lot with a school in Yelsk, and we trained a lot of pilots back then. But initially, we actually either retrained or trained ready-made pilots for helicopters, and then they started to work on different types of vehicles. I think that here the main difference between state aviation and civil aviation, there are some differences, and they exist. Even training methodology might be different. Civil aviation is more about safety and also accomplishment of safe flights, and it is done in the purpose of the civil aviation. As for military aviation, it deals with different tasks. I mean, state aviation deals with a bit of different task, but we will be able to do that, no problem with that. What's next? Sergey Viktorovich. So, colleagues, let's thank our people responsible for design and development works. So we had following task. We wanted to show that one of the elements needed for the implementation was to create all the necessary conditions to come up with certain norms, rules, calculations, etc. So we have huge potential. We have a great team, and everyone knows what they're supposed to do. Apart from this team, we also mentioned a few words about those who will be responsible for project management. We should forget about manufacturing of airships, of these airlinks. I would like to present to you a special person who in our team will be responsible for manufacturing, will be taking decisions and taking on board different tasks. Ruslan, can I invite you for a couple of words? So, who knows Ruslan? Ruslan? The person who actually introduced me to Duyunov, who remembers Limansky, Edge, Next City, all those projects. Ruslan is the owner of those factories where it was all done. So tell us, please, what kind of enterprises or factories were you responsible for? What have you created, etc.? I didn't plan to pick up the phone and say something in the microphone. Yes, I've gained certain experience and I know how to launch production from scratch and I know how to do that. Okay, he is building factories, creating helicopters. Not only he has had a lot of businesses, we very much confide in him. And well, if he is being a little bit shy today, well, it's okay. But people who know him, they are quite aware of his competences. He's telling us that we should hurry up, and he is asking for drawings, and he says that he is ready to start working. Okay, just meet this team member. Colleagues, can I say a few words about Ruslan? This person who modernized agricultural equipment, machinery, combines, etc. He invented and assembled conveyor for fish processing. You know, then these big vessels come over when you need to process a lot of fish. Previously, it's not possible in Russia. In all the ports, we had some Japanese American equipment, and so a period of 6 years, he monopolized the market with the help of his conveyor, and he launched serial conveyor production, and Japanese and American companies could not outdo him, and that it was incredible, and they were very much surprised. So he ousted them from the market. Not long ago, he had a hobby, and some people approached him, and he was asked to launch a production of some biofertilizers. He found investment, he designed everything. I mean, technological line, and he set up a factory within a period of 3 months. So that is Ruslan. He's a very modest person, but his results speak for himself. So let's follow chronological order. For example, we have the money to do this. We have instructors, we have constructors, designers, everybody. Then we hand it over for production. We build the sailings, airships, we manufacture them. So what's next? It's an issue of commercialization of commercial sites, and we need to know people who will be able for those process. I would like to introduce to you Mr. Morozov. I have known him for 10 years, and every time I launched a new project, I go to him because he has a huge experience, and he always says, Semyonov, come over, and I will tell you how to do this or that thing. Nikita Vasilievich, please welcome to the stage. Tell us a few words about yourself. Good afternoon, dear friends. I'm really happy to see you. So, listening to Gay at the very beginning, the beginning of our conference, I realized that when he talked about super qualification of our Russian Soviet engineering school, it made me think about after-war years in 45 and 46 and 1950. Within 5 years, our country managed to send a man, first man in the space, to create some rockets, missiles, etc. And it just very well reflects our Russian spirit. I remember the words from that song, "We are born to make a fairy tale a reality and overcome space and travel in time." So, and looking at your faces, I can see the spark in your eyes, and will definitely make it all happen. And another song tells us, if you dream, dream big. Really, we have all it takes. We have a will to become heroes of our time. We can see the heroes of our time, the best designing team ever, best designers, best experts, specialists. So they have conceived all the details, plus 8 year exploitation of airships, incredible background. We have the base of our project, colossal experience. Well, I am also representative of this team. I am also a part of the club, and I have been friends with many of those people for over 30 years. I'm quite aware of the level of their competence, and I can feel this romantic spirit in them. Mikhail Grigorievich said that right now we are witnessing the birth of a special alliance, people who know how to maintain, how to build, create, manufacture, design, and we know what it is for. So this alliance will be working as one vivid or body, one team, a result-oriented team. And I think that we have all it takes, all the preconditions to get synchronized and to synchronize all our activities. That is incredible. We can see that, well, this project has already been highlighted by a huge level of competence, I mean, the huge level of experience, great minds. But I think that this is a key to our future success, and we need to organize this work in a way where we will achieve our goals, and we will tackle all the logistics issues that we have ahead of us, and something that cannot be solved with the help of existing transport systems. Well, I have also gained a lot of experience working with different vehicles, cars. I've worked a lot in the sphere of transportation. I have all those ideas about particularities of this domain. I know how to work with new technologies. I worked a lot with that, and I was one of the first people who started to work with some technologies that you can see everywhere right now in the market. I can tell you that everything is possible if you dream big, if you believe in what you are doing, everything is possible. That's why I'm absolutely sure that we will succeed. Thank you. Thank you very much. Colleagues, shall we continue? I want to make sure that my clicker is working. It's not working yet. Good news. So today at 9 a.m. I saw it in the chat that we had 1,000 people there. So those in the chat, just go there. Right now we have 1,500 people. I think that is because of the conference, because you invited somewhere to take part in this conference. Please don't be shy. Repost our events. It will help us a lot. So let's go through project puzzle, what we discussed today. Projects puzzles. So development and design. Kirilin's team. Production. Ruslan and his team. As for operation, well, question tag, but still training center covered, done. As for customers and marketing, Viktor Vasilievich has not talked that much about it now, but I'm sure that we're not going to have any problems with that if we have such airships at such a price that can handle so many logistics tasks. Well, for sure, we will not have problems with customers and with marketing. There will be no problem with that. What can we say? We can say that can announce opening of a new company within a couple of 2 months. It will be done officially. It will be reflected legally. Meanwhile, we would like to share some preliminary numbers. So volume of investment that we plan to attract within 3-5 years, $100 million with commission remuneration that we will be paying to our partners. Uh, so we plan that it will cost, capitalization will be like $1 billion in approximately 5 years for 2 projects only. Why are we mentioning such figures? We will tell you later about it, but just bear in mind that production cost of one 10-ton airship is approximately $10 to $12 million, and the price of this selling price is $20 to $25 million, no, depending on the type. So as for these airships in one island, how many of them can be manufactured annually? So annually, up to 25 airships can be manufactured again annually. We are not limited. This is the minimum plan that we bear in mind right now. So this is the approximate structure that we are going to have. All the investors that will present our group will have 49% of this newly established company. Our task as investors is to get this $100 million within this period, either in portion or in stages. Well, we'll see, depending on what is needed by the project. So 51%. This is the team executing the project, including management. We will tell you in more detail about the structure. We just didn't want to complicate the things now. So what is happening now? So we're gonna have 20 stages plus a 0 stage. You have to understand the value of this conference. It's not just a conference, it's a meeting. Right now, we just announced the start of the 0 stage. This is a stage that is usually invisible for the main category of projects participants. During this stage, we'll be preparing anything, we will be testing everything, and we will announce the start. I think that it will be closer to October. Right now, this is a pre-start stage. You are the first people who know about this project. This is the financing stages. We're going to have 20 stages. If you are aware of our discounts, well, you're quite familiar with that. Discount is kind of a multiplier. In other words, so if you invest $10,000 right now, this is an incredible risk compared to investing $10,000 half a year before the end of the project. So we have a system of discounts at the initial stages. Right now we have nothing registered, nothing is organized. We just met the team. We said here we are moving in that direction. And this stage, people who invest, they will get this special preferential terms compared to the terms later. like 2 times difference. So the amount of money that we need right now, initially $2.5 million at this zero stage, $2.5 million. So those people who invest at this stage and who fit in this $2.5 million, they will get their shares at on the very, very, very best conditions possible. Well, you know how it's all organized, best ever conditions. So you will be remembering this day, thinking about it, and will be proud of you later on. How do you invest in the project? Who is registered in our account with your personal accounts right now in Solo Group? You know that we have accounts there, and we have a new part there called Airships. You can use this QR code to go there, and there we have a small landing where we describe briefly what we plan to do. Again, just try to understand that 2 weeks ago no one planned to launch this project, and so right now you already can invest in this project. We organized a very nice meeting that answers a lot of questions. We laid the foundation, and right now current people who are already registered in this account, so they can already invest. I have already done it, by the way. I wanted to be first one to do that, and after that we will have another account for everyone where we transfer current structure. So it's not about budget. I mean, these questions I saw them in the chat. In our marketplace, where we have one project, we now have a second project, and the current investors can already invest. In a couple of months, or maybe in a month, we will have a separate account for everyone, where we will take our current base, where we preserve existing structure, where you have to confirm your place in the structure. So we will just shake it all up, I mean the structure, but we will keep it intact. And you can use this barcode or QR code to follow it and make your investment. So this is QR code with our social media. You can keep track of all the projects using this QR code. So we will start immediately working in international formats. Yes, we have some questions regarding the current projects. We will answer all of them. Of course, I'm not going to go through all of them now, but that's what I wanted to mention right now. I think that everyone knows that me, for example, personally, I also use Skyway. So airships, they existed, and this is a normal project, and they exist, and they will be the best of the best. But I worked with some more complicated projects. But even when I was 20 years ago, it was like almost 20 years ago, and no one believed in that, and hardly anyone believed that it was possible, even though that commercially they didn't bring about any money. But still, those cars worked, and it was possible. When we launched the second project, also we were told that you haven't finished the first project, yes, and you are proceeding to the second part, return the money on the first one. But if a new investment projects were done one after another and were not launched one after another, where would we be right now? We need to generate our efforts and our tries. So before start of the project, we collected on some base. We had a group of people, for example, in Kontakti, who were monitoring projects of Duyunov. And when we started with a bigger base, and first month we attracted 14 million, then 24 million ruble, and so then the figure was going, and now we have like a performance of 3 million million per month, and yes, it has been 7 years, and we also been through a pandemic and military operation. But where we starting now, we have 500,000 people monitoring us on a regular basis. This is just answering your question whether or not it will be possible to work with the first project. The first project, we started them from square one, from zero. And of course, now we have a stronger team, we have very good leaders, we have a lot of work. But at the same time, I want to say that now we have definitely what it takes. And those who want to be more deeply involved, to have some teams, we share information about the project, and I think that anyone can use this method or what we use for different projects. And the way of finance to attract finances, some people come up to us asking for finances, and I tell them, you have your project, here is instructions to how you can attract finances, but we are absolutely transparent, open. We share information as to how it should be done. Let's just do it. We will do it. So we're done with the main part. So let's give a round of applause to each other. We can now proceed. So we have two parts left right now. We can proceed to Q&A session and then continue our non-formal communication during the dinner. So do you have any questions right now? Who liked this? Who just liked this idea? Who believes that theoretically we can do that? This is question number one. Second question, a more serious one. Who is ready to invest $1,000? Less hands, but still. So we repeat this work thousands of times, and we will accomplish what we have planned. So we have been doing that for 10 years. So answers to the question. Sergey, let's answer some online questions. What kind of question? So there was general question. They didn't say who it was addressed to. Okay, so half an hour for that. I understand that everyone is tired already. Okay, 10 minutes for online questions and the rest of the questions from people here in this room. So the first question goes for you. Some people are interested in the current project Sovelmash. Do we continue to work on that? And so we will continue to work with Dmitry Alexandrovich Duyunov. That's a very important question. I have already answered several times. Yes, we continue to work on Sovelmash. Nothing has changed. We are working on corporatization. We are already on preparing a project Spetsomash. So there have been no changes in the current projects. Everything is scheduled. We talked to Dmitry Alexandrovich yesterday or the day before yesterday and asked him whether or not we can ask for your help for airship projects, for ask for motors, etc. And probably there will be some cooperations, of course, between us. Can a current company, everybody is interested in that. And the question is also, will we be able to do that? Of course we will. Sovelmash has no financial problems. We have money, so we have all it takes. So another question is about Sovelmash. Will it participate in this project or only as a customer? We have such an idea. We thing that base that we use to launch the project, it was done based on Sovelmash. There's 500,000 people. They came over from the previous projects. So as for accounts, we have already invested a lot of money into that. It's like online banking system, and it was sponsored by investors. And yesterday I offered it to Dmitry Alexandrovich and told him that the share that was given to our team, we can take a part of this share and hand it over to Sovelmash, to all the participants of Sovelmash. And Dmitry Alexandrovich saying, no, thank you. And I said that this thank investors. So if this campaign is successful, it will also help a lot to Sovelmash. I think that it would be fair, it would be correct. I think that a lot of investors will be happy about that. Right now, they are really interested in our success, even if they don't want to act as investors. As for the technical question, that's it. But tell us a few words about financing. So right now we have one account per one person. Right now, you already can invest in a zero stage in the current account, the Solo Group. In order not to lump this project together later on, not to mix them up, we're going to have separate accounts for them when we start dealing with airships separately. And so structure will be transferred, but those who want to stay in the projects will have to confirm it. We will not be able to do it by force and just transfer people from one project to another without their confirmation. Well, first we do it, but they will receive notification. If you don't confirm your account within a month, you will be removed. So everything will be quite simple and transparent. And some technical question from the chat. I don't know who will answer that. Probably Fyodor or someone else. Maybe you'll give the floor to someone. Well, actually, there are a lot of technical aspects. There are not only investors, but also engineers, professionals from different domains, and I don't understand some of the questions. So probably I suggest that in a week we can have a separate webinar where we'll invite all the participants to answer specifically technical questions. It's very important. And even if we talk about it now, more specifically, so airships. And some people inevitably think it's something old that used to exist, but what about modern airships? What makes them different? So I have already answered this question. It's the same difference as a train 100 years ago operated on vapor and modern Chinese train. So that travels at speed of 400 kilometers per hour, no friction, no vibration. So a maximum difference, new materials, new propulsion systems, computers, a lot of sensors, etc., accuracy. It doesn't matter what kind of parameters we talk about. It started from gears, etc. So the same happened with airships. So 100 years ago, they travel long distance. They were used for cargo transportation, but right now it's going to be absolutely different in terms of convenience. Provocative questions. Right now, we have a lot of people in the world who are trying to manufacture airships. Brin, for example, one of Google founders, he's manufacturing something right now, but it has not been taken into the air, even though that he found the funds, people, why he failed, and we will succeed. Alexander Nikolaevich. As for Brin, it's quite a funny story. Probably it's not that modern. On the other hand, I know all the best instructors in the world and I have participated in almost all the conference. I'm just no longer interested in that because there are no serious specialists. Roger Mansk, probably Citadel, Englishman working for Americans. We knew each other very well, but he died already. So if I mentioned really good specialist, another good specialist, Giuseppe, who actually created that, even though he was trapped by his 4 patents, but still Zeppelin, I think this is the best one in the world still. Apart from that, I haven't heard about anything special. As for Chinese people, there are a lot of them, and they would love to try it, and they try to cooperate with me, and just even offer to establish some joint venture. We even set up Russian, Chinese, Brazilian, European enterprise where I have 25% stock, and I still have it at least on the paper with the headquarters in Toulouse, and Europeans allocated money for that, and they uh, actually examines a lot of companies in the world, 17 or 13 companies of this kind, and so they just kept two companies, American, the German Zeppelin, and our company also, Aerostatika, Russian ones, and then they organized conferences around the world, in America, in France, in China, in Russia, and they decided to stay with Aerostatica. Got particularly interested in that. And Chinese, they really wanted me to stay with them, to work for them. They allocated money for that. So I remember we had a conference and I delivered a lecture there. Just for your information, in China, back then when I was uh, there, communicated with them, they had two Aero Navigation Institute back then. So they are very much a perspective of future oriented. So when they offered me to stay with them, here is an island for you, here is a big mansion for you to live in, etc. So they really tried to push me. Um, they're very good, economists. They really wanted to work, and finally, when they get their freedom, they really wanted to work. But at the level of new ideas, when we proceed to the stage, they were really bad at that. As for rockets, the construction, they're really good on that, at missile production, etc. Um, well, they're better. Well, that is why they're not quite successful with stratospheric um, uh, uh, machines. Germans really were uh, interested. It was interesting when they created Zeppelin. I know that they were very serious when they worked on this project. I remember how they also communicated with banks, how they actually attracted funds for that. And some time ago, I remember I offered them some project. Maybe you've heard about this company called Cargo Lifter. They also wanted to create a special transporter with a 160-ton capacity with a rigid framework or structure. And von Gamlet, I remember he was the owner, the head of the company, and they had very good logistics system. Everything seemed to be okay in Brand's Berlin, 60 kilometers away from Belgrade, at our ex-military base. They constructed an alien, a special big structure, the biggest one in Europe, 160-meter long, 210 meters wide, and quite tall. I told them. So why are you actually thinking about a semi-rigid structure? I mean, the weight is really big, and the Germans were really weird in this sense. I remember I offered them once that in the conference in London, an international conference, 25 million, and we will secure you, and we will have a rigid structure instead of semi-rigid. They took the decision, and then a little bit later, 1 year and a half later, in Friedrichshafen, at this conference, I met a member of Mr. Zeppelin, and I showed my project to him. Yes, for sure, let's cooperate with you. And 2 months later, they went bankrupt, and they spent a lot of time, you know. So my opinion, uh, Brin, yes, Sergey Brin, yes, a co-founder, fan of airships. If I'm not mistaken, he has already invested 250 millions. He also attracted Pasternak from Lvov and that project. He also was working on similar projects, and they both started together in America. But still, he even attracted Germans, so it didn't came out with Pasternak. So they took nacelle from Zeppelin, structure the same, rigid airship, the 200,000 different elements, but that was chaos, total bullshit. He knows nothing about that. So, in brief, what I want to say is that there are no good specialists. Maybe they do exist, probably. Well, used to know some experts, some specialists. You should approach this issue with a big love. These are serious things. So, okay, Zeppelin created great things, but as for assembly stage, that was really bad. It took so much time, and well, not the best solution ever. So, again, too much time. But here we understand about real team. And when we say that in 2 months we're going to have this, in a year we're going to have this, as for operation, for example, modes, that's incredible. We'll be building the first alien for yacht, so we are thinking about very good landing properties where it can land on the roof of a high-rise building. That's going to be great. A very good thing, a very good advertisement for Russia and our high technologies. Probably it's not that modest, but we are all surrounded by our know-how, our patents, and very incredible results that we have already achieved. I've been working on that for so many years, decades. I cannot see anything on the same level abroad. For sure, we will be able to become global leaders. And that's not just trying to be equal to someone from airplane building building domain. No, we will do much better. We know how to work with all the elements. That's the situation we're in right now, more or less. I hope that I answered your question. Two more questions, and then we will proceed to the question from here. It might be weird for people who have been dealing with that for a long time. So today it rained, it was windy. What about meteo conditions? Airships, are they afraid, so to speak, of this kind of meteo fluctuations? And what is the maximum wind, direct wind, side winds that they can withstand? How dangerous it is for airships? So basically, we have already covered all those points. Well, as for the winds speed, if it's really important, we can discuss it once again. But in fact, airships are designed to withstand certain meteo conditions, and if it should travel to North Pole, it can withstand weather conditions that can be found there. If it is for African countries, well, it is adjustable. It can be adjusted based on meteo standards, climate conditions in different countries. And last question. So, as for winds, according to the norms, it should be no more than 15 meters for airplanes for land, and as for our aircrafts for passengers and cargo transportation, probably it should withstand no less than 15 meters, maybe 20 meters, 25. That's a little bit too much. But actually, airships. Oh, wow. I think in the global practice, there have been cases where they landed at a wind of 30 meters per second. So the same with the storm, with lightning, etc. But it's also quite a problem with helicopters and for airplanes. Anyway, we also understand that ultraviolet, but at the same time quite big structure. And for example, if snow falls and actually the surface is really big, I remember how Germans acquired this Zeppelin for 12 persons, and they had this snow, and it's actually turned this nacelle upside down because of the snow on top. I have a patent for special anti-snow protection plans for the operation of this airship so that they can be operated in different meteor conditions. So the special warm airflow can be delivered there just to melt this snow. We have also taken that into consideration. It is not relevant for Africa, for Indonesia, for India, etc. As for direct wind, that could be quite an issue, 15 meters per second. I remember how flew like this from Volsk for a shift, and I remember there was a small shift Aerostatika 02, and maximum speed was 97. That's why I'm saying that modern airships, they should have quite a good cruise speed, approximately 170 kilometers, 200 kilometers. Can also operate at 125, 150 kilometers per hour in a more economical way. So you can operate an airship within such range. But sometimes it can also be a good wind that makes the aircraft propel further on. I'm talking about tailwind. Well, I remember that was also the case with Zeppelin when the cruise speed was 200 kilometers, but according to calculation, it was 230 when it was moving in a particular direction because of the tailwind. Modern technologies, they are there to our advantage. And by the way, when Zeppelin airships were operated, there were no computers, and so no such systems that I can use now. And now we know how to navigate it if we want to have a tailwind all the time. And the last question from online, even we had a lot of them, I think later on you will be able to read them, you will be able to comment on that. Again, so where they used, what makes them efficient, why are they more efficient than drones, helicopters, etc. So we talked about aerial yachts, though we want to just invest into that. So what about commercial interest? What can be used for? Let's not just speaking about aerial yachts, capacity is 1 ton, 1 ton and a half. If what about a drone or aircraft can spend a week over Moscow and can it be used for monitoring traffic within a week? It's not the case, but aerial yachts can be used for that. So they can be used for carrying different objects, for missiles can be sent to North Poles, etc. Yes, well, I think that one of the most apparent usages is for cargo transportation. So we talked a lot about the use of these airships, and I said, let's explore our forest, and I would say it will be even more profitable than oil and gas. That's an incredible thing. But what can you say about drones? Drones is a serious thing. Even I mean, if we talk about war specifically, but what about capacity or payload capacity? We can say that here we can talk about really autonomous objects, yes, devices. They can be used as stratosphere. Two of them can be left above Crimea, and two of them above Belarus. You can see the whole territory of Ukraine with a couple of them. Everything happening in Ukraine without any satellites. So But transport, don't forget about that. Tourism, we have gone through different points. That's a weird question. I don't think that you were attentive enough. Let's proceed to the question from this audience. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alexander Manko. Just a short story. In 2002, at American Stock Exchange, I lost a bit of money, and then I started to work with airships. And the first one was Pasternak, who actually was working on ML 96. And when I saw first sketches, I thought that was exactly what I was interested in. I really wanted to build, and I started to collect money for that, even though I had no idea what money we were supposed to talk about. Then he had to cooperate with DARPI, etc. But I wanted to address a question to Sergey. What about installments? Are we gonna still have installments? Yes, and probably a proposal offered needs to be discussed. This stage 0. With structure transfer, so that we have this time till October. As we know, information is delivered with some delays. So this is a preliminary question, and as I have already heard today, 1.5 thousand people we have in chat. That means that everyone takes installments for $2,000, and will cover stage 0 already. But money will be pumped up when we physically receive money. Installments will remain just the beginning of the project, so it will be up to 50 months. I mean, installments. 50 months, so that's a lot. Again, let's say that we understand that this is a project risk. You understand that probably we will fail. That is why this blurred responsibility of tens of thousands of people who invested within a period of 3 years, $3,000. It means 5,000 per month. So we are not inviting. We're inviting you to support the project if you like it. We do not invite you to sell houses and to bet everything on zero. It's like a Netflix serial, and you can donate and watch it happen and observe it happen and participate in that and speed it up or slow it down. Be a part of that. You have to understand that we stick to this concept, and on top of that, I understand that we are creating a great army of consumers, of army and distributors, the product, so everything will remain the same. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for our today's event. Very good format, incredible people, a lot of information. In 2014, I met Sergey Semyonov, and here we go again. I'm here again. So, question for you, Sergey. You mentioned 100 million. I would like to understand that this is together with the partners. Sum is not that big. In fact, for such an army of fans, and this money, what does include? How many aliens? How many aerostats? Will there be when commercialization start? Of course, we will need hundreds of aliens and so on and so forth. It will be a different scale of the business, but just a bit more details of that. Just a short answer about $50 million. $50 million because this is basis. I mean, the basic cell. It means the construction bureau, a couple of aliens, airships, drones to develop types of apparatus certified, and also their serial production. When it's ready, nothing can happen to the business. So everything will open for a big capital, everything it takes. This is the minimum we can use to make it to the space. Okay, structure will be the same foreign company, but we will develop a low legal entity. It will be amongst the founders of operational team that will be responsible in Russia for the development of this work. It's like a new Sovelmash, and as soon as you have attracted $100 million, will be possible to still become a shareholder. There will be different structures, strategies. There could be different scenarios. We could tell you more about that later on, because by that time we will select our direction, all the possible scenarios. So we will share more details. So for answer to your question, it will be fully formed in approximately half a year with detailed information about every single airship, everything with different timelines, deadlines, investment periods, and so on and so forth. There is a good point about those business projects that when we finance this basic things, we will be able to launch a big capital there, attract big customers. Our crowd investors will be in the maternity company, and even if they don't make it to a business project, still they will get it. I mean, currently we cannot and I have already been there. You cannot come over and ask for $10 million without having $10 million behind. So you get $10 million, you give $10 million, and you have $10 million, and you say I have $10 million, etc. And you do it step by step, and probably you're not invited to partnership, or you're told, you see, here, go there, etc. It doesn't work like that, in serious teams. So this contradiction in terms, well, if you need a lot of money, well, and you are all given such conditions, and you don't really want to work based on them. Okay, whatever. I've been with Solo Group for a long time. I've been a partner of it. And I was given a task once when I was asked to depict the Russia of the future, and I started to think about it, so how I perceive it. I like science and technologies. I read a lot about that. Understand and perspectives. I answered back then that our transport infrastructure would be based on quadricopters and airships, because looking at our big countries, I understand personally that Russia needs to fly and not to crawl. I would say that Russia, the future belongs to airships, to new type of fuel. From my perspective, you were quite pessimistic in sharing this information. You should be more optimistic, at least the way I see it, thanks to new technologies and those that appear now. I start to make some calculations and assessment just to have an idea about perspective, and from think that they are more interesting than you might think. And that is why I would like to ask you, how optimistic, or maybe uh, uh, I mean, how optimistic are you regarding the limitations of these airships in terms of height, mass, and weight? Length, I don't know. It would be interesting if airships could transport same cargo weight as, for example, the trains, 10,000 tons. Could he substitute these types of vehicles? So, for example, maritime transport. I know that some projects, some of them can be up to airships can be up to 500 meters. Probably it sounds like a fantasy. We can see that big liners, maritime liners, tankers, they are like 500 meters. I think that this is quite feasible, and I would like to know what you think about such fantastic perspectives. They are not fantastic, actually. If you think about that, you will see that it's quite interesting from the economic point of view. So you compare it to railways, to trains. And I remember how I shared information about that. I made some rough estimation. So an apparatus 500 meters long, I mean airship, even though that Tsiolkov even talked about 2 kilometers, 300 meters diameter for transporting 800 passengers, which is possible. I mean, load distribution in airships is a little bit different compared to airplanes. But if we just talk about half a kilometer, like maritime tankers transport and all that, they're up to 500 meters long. Yes, 1.5 thousand tons that can be transported by them. So if you think about it, it's like a rolling stock consisting of 20 wagons, 6 tons each. I should say that in my doctor's papers dissertation, I said that even 3,000 tons twice as more it can be done. Yes, it's very good saving properties, etc. Well, I would say that it's something that's worth considering. It's possible, it's feasible, but I would say that uh, I don't think that well, probably there should be a lot of such airships, and even Roscosmos, who are really interested in that, and some serious people ask them about that. And Mr. Lebedev responsible for some of the big projects and also for transportation and search and rescue operations for cargo transportation. Some of general constructor of their bureau. I asked them several times to think about this thing, to have some kind of a joint production or construction bureau, but they prefer to act in a different way in terms of finances. They got used to the Ministry of Defense, where they used these motorboats or icebreakers in the North Pole to, for example, to rescue people, etc. I communicated with a lot of people on that issue. Korolev would be very much terrified if he found out that these are people right now responsible for our air navigation, and so on and so forth. So not everyone understands the importance of this dominion you task. Well, actually, energetically, airships are more profitable, more advantageous compared to maritime transport. And they even use the formulas here to prove it about the density of air, density of water. They 1,000 times different. That is why airships they should be 10 times bigger than vessels to transport the same amounts. That's about this. Is that true? Probably, but I think it's more simple for ordinary people to, to get addicted to some golden reserves, oil fields, gas pipelines, rather than to develop something new. I remember how Miller, yes, January director, wrote a letter about that. I remember once had a dinner and we were talking about Gazprom Tech. They actually initiated some ideas. So so the point is that I offered a lot to them. I mean, regards what we can do in Northern Pole, ideas, etc. I talked to them about helium, about everything that could be used as a fuel. We also talked about helium that can also be transported with the help of airships. 1/3 of that, it could also be used in Japan and China. They also used that. And so we shouldn't use those containers, 20-ton containers. But it could be we could think about door-to-door delivery, uh, 100 liters, etc. We could already have become a monopolist in this sphere, just to work with smaller amounts and strategically be in the best position. I also have written a letter to Putin about that, so they charge the Ministry of Transport to think about that. I also um prepared my own report for this ministry, but unfortunately they didn't pay enough attention to that. It was also mentioned here before. Yes, I wrote reports, letters, and different instruction in the fourth quarter of this year. I said that a special offer should be made to develop a cargo airship from 30 to 200 tons. In my idea, it was from 10 tons to 200 tons, but then it was adjusted a little bit. Whatever, it was done a little bit. Uh, Changed a little bit. But me personally, I don't want to deal that much with this state or public structures. So for me, it's more interesting to work with creative people, with young people like Solar Group. Unfortunately, we didn't start to work together 2 or 3 years ago. I don't think we don't need anybody. Everybody will be here. Another episode from our history. For example, Sechenko, he constructed plants and some parts were supposed to be delivered there of a size that could not be delivered by railway. So they only thing that they created is just to set up uh, uh, factory that could do it differently. So actually, they could use the airships and deliver everything from the central Russia, if they even thought about that. But economics behind that is a little bit different. So it could provide for a high level of automaticity, and at the same time it wasn't really considered. So airships of 40 tons, it's like a very good vehicle, so they can be used there. We never needed to even build roads in some areas. I mean, it's sometimes really less expensive to manufacture airship. Yes, just last session of Presidium, one of the chairpersons from Inozemtsov is the chairperson of this presidium, and our agents PD8 35, that's what they manufactured. As for 35, yes, it's nice. Actually, Putin came to him 8 times just to give him a word for the development of agents. He developed agents 4 meters diameter. I mean, but just to deliver at least a sketch, I mean, a sample of it to the VDNH to assemble it, to disassemble it, that was incredible. And I told him back that we could deliver an airship to you almost for free. But it was said no. They consider just sizes, and they could only use their ideas. But again, this is so, colleagues. Uh, I understand that everyone is tired. Let's give a round of applause to our team responsible for the development of our airships. Let's applaud to us for the fact that you were not scared by that. And let's have a group picture right here. Let's stay here in front of airships.
Не, вы сидите, мы вокруг вас соберемся. Да, ребят, давайте смелее сюда, поближе, и пойдем уже это ништяки кушать.
Dear colleagues, thank you very much for participating in our event. Soon we will have more materials. Not possible to cover all the issues. Please check out our social media. You'll find all the information there. Meanwhile, we're going to take a group picture.
Александр Николаевич, пока.